Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to present to you guys my plans for the 3.25 Settlers of Kalguur Expansion League start. And yeah, my decision felt on the strength stacking Juggernaut to begin with. And in today's video I want to go over my plans, my decision making on how do I want to approach this kind of thing. Because big disclaimer here, I do not recommend playing what I'm playing for League Start. There has been no testing made. I cannot even test all of the things because if I would go ahead and put like a solo self-found strategy, who says I'm going to find the items that I need early on that are like 1 or 2 chaos on trade? The new rage system doesn't work. The buffed melee skills are not there. You're still forced to play with totems and stuff like that, which would give a complete wrong image because with the banners and stuff, I'm still gonna have less damage than in the upcoming league. So I said, you know what, we're gonna do this different this time, or at least me for myself. I'm just gonna show you guys what I plan to do, how I'm going to approach things, how do I think that this is going to work out. So that's why it's not like a normal league starter video where you're gonna have like PUBs and those kind of things. As I say again, I do not recommend doing what I'm doing. Main reasons for that is pretty simple. I know it's a very bad thing to do as a content creator, especially as a PoE content creator, that you're making a league starter video and recommending or not recommending your build, which is actually super bad. But I just don't want to lie to you guys. I just, you know, I have transparency and stuff, keystones allocated in real life. I just cannot tell you guys to start this and have a good feeling about it. I think it's gonna be great, but I don't want to have anybody following my league starter and then realizing it's actually shit and they're gonna have a bad experience on the league start. I'm just gonna get myself to endure the pain of early stat stacking characters, and you know, you can follow along if you want to. All right, you guys have been warned. How do I go at strength stacking as a league starter? Because as we know, you cannot stack, you cannot league start a strength stacker. There is items you need, and without those items, strength stacking is completely pointless. You don't get any damage, whether flat nor increased damage or anything like that. So the plan is, I just want to know what is the build that I want to play and what steps do I have to make to get to this point where I can play it. And realistically, what I want to play is a Wonder strength stacking, probably Berserk or Chieftain. And this needs quite a bit of investment. I would assume about 20, 30, maybe 40 divines. So that is not really a league starter option. This is not something you can expect out of a league starter, right? Unless you find ways to play something before that to transition into the build that you want to play as soon and as fast as possible without the need of releveling a character. This is going to be my personal 0 to hero kind of challenge for the upcoming league. I think I'm going to spend a lot of time doing the league mechanic, at least I hope so, because it seems like there is much more to do than just your kill monsters in a circle, pick up loot, and that's about it. I think you can do some great stuff there, maybe some delving, maybe just do it a different kind of style of league start that I'm usually doing, and just to have like this experience. Next point is, I feel a lot better for just not knowing what's gonna happen. Personally, I don't even want to do a league start test. I want to get into this system since I have never league started a strength stacker. The only strength stackers that I played in the past were like super high budget, original sin, one-shotting uber bosses, and those kind of things. I've never tested something like this in the early league stages, so I don't have experience on that. But this is the interesting part for me. I want to figure things out once I go forward, once I get my first currency, where to invest at, do the PUBs, just trying to figure out things again, not just replay the same old builds over and over like EK or accuracy stacking or, I don't know, bleed bow and so on and so forth that I've done in the past. Yes, I did have played strength stacker in the past, but never on a low budget, never as a league starter, never anything like that. Good. So, what do I need to play my Wonder Strength Stacker? And the easy answer is Replica, Alberon's Warpath. And these boats usually go for, this could be from 5 divine starting until 30 divine starting price. I have no idea. All I can do is go to PoE Ninja and see, okay, we go to unique armors and we say, hey, I'm searching for the Replica Alberon's Warpath. What did they cost last league? And they are about 13 divines or 1,700 chaos at this point. And here you can see the price history. They started like I don't know, 2-3 divines, 4 divines, and like 2-3 days later, like 10 divines, 15 divines, 20 divines. I cannot predict the market. I have no idea how much of demand there is going to be. Maybe there's going to be more because I say I'm going to make Strength Stackers League Starter, and maybe there's 100 people following me now, right, for Strength Stacking. There's 100 people more trying to buy the same item early on, and this is a heist item. It's not going to be accessible early on, and if so, then it's a multiple divine item. But I cannot say if it's 5, if it's 10, if it's 15, or even more divines, right? So, but how do I get to this point? And basically, what I plan to do is, let me quickly open my PUB. So step number 1 is you just gonna pick the Marauder as your starting class, like this is what I'm gonna do, and I guess I'm gonna go with the Juggernaut just as a base defensive player, right? So that means the first thing that I'm gonna do is just start as any regular melee character, whether it's going to be Sunder, can be Bone Shatter, can be Infernal Blow, can be, you know, Lacerate, whatever you feel like is melee character should be fun, or should be fine, should be fine. I personally, I have never played Bone Shatter, I have no experience playing that, so, you know, it's gonna be a new experience for me as well. I don't even know when it was the last time that I actually started a melee character, but I would go as follow. If I'm playing melee, which is most likely the case, I'm going to go for a two-handed X style. Probably it's going to be Bone Shatter because it is known that it's going to be a strong starter. It's I think it even got a little bit nerfed or a little bit buffed, but main thing is, it definitely didn't get the buffs that other melee skills had, so the question is still, how is it going to compare? But as far as I've seen, it should be absolutely no problem. So for the first couple levels, I would go down here, probably pick up the Kinetic Impacts nodes with a Mastery for 40% increased damage, and then probably get some early Leech. That would be level 12. These would be probably my first points. Then, going forward, like we say like Act 2, maybe Act 3, I'm gonna branch out to the Heart of the Warrior, Born to Fight, and 2 points here, Diamond Skin and All Res, just because generic All Res is always nice to have, especially early on when you don't have leveling items. You're gonna be starved from resistance, you're not gonna have essences or anything like that to craft your early gear, means 2 points for 20% All Res is very nice to have. Next up, I'm probably gonna take Harvester of Foes, and then probably get the Rage gain on with X attacks. This is basically with the new rage changes, now with a maximum of 3 rage total, giving you % more attack damage, which will be very, very nice for this kind of like melee playstyle. And then probably from that point, we're now level 22, probably Act 3 or something, I don't know. Then I would probably just go out and say like, okay, I'm gonna take a Life Wheel here and then go for the Endurance Charge when you're hit. We assume now that I'm either going to play Sunder or I'm either going to play Bone Shatter. If it's going to be Bone Shatter, then I definitely want to branch out to something like Tribal Fury for the extra splash damage, take something like Ancestral Call for the additional strike targets, and so on and so forth. So whether it's going to be, obviously, if I'm not going to pick Bone Shatter, if I'm sticking with Sunder just because it feels good and it's nice to play. I mean, as I said, it can be any skill. It could also be Lightning Strike or anything that just scales of your weapon, then you just keep on crafting those weapons. So now we would be at level 34. This is now the point where I'm like, okay, can we get a Brutus Lead Sprinkler? This is like the first thing, right? And based on the past, if we take a look at the Brutus Lead Sprinkler here, it's an item that usually goes from like somewhere 1, 2, 3 chaos, somewhere at this range. I have no idea how massive this is going to be. There's always going to be the case, somebody watched my video, somebody found the Brutus Lead Sprinkler and is like, oh, I know mbX wants to play that, let's put it up for 5 divines. Do not buy this for 5 divines, okay? The market is going to be flooded with those items very soon, so you're going to get them very early on for 1, 2, maybe 3 chaos. And I think based on experience, you know, when you're like Act 4, Act 5, you should probably have 2, 3 chaos laying around. So this is the question, the first big question mark. When do you get the Brutus Lead Sprinkler, which would be the first item to enable strength stacking based on the adds 4 to 7 fire damage to attacks with this weapon per 10 strength? If I don't have the currency for it, then I just keep on playing Bone Shatter, playing Sunder, playing anything like that. You know, it's early leveling campaign. What could possibly go wrong? I don't think a lot, right? And at this point, we're probably also going to the first lap, and I think I'm just going to pick Undeniable for the additional accuracy, the attack speed, and that basically makes me not use precision or anything for additional accuracy, and I should be fine. Good. We assume now that I had the 2, 3, 4, 5 chaos to bind the Brutus Lead Sprinkler. That also means that I need to respec these 200 nodes because they are going to be useless since the Brutus Lead Sprinkler is a one-handed mace and therefore the 200 nodes do not work anymore. You're going to have passive regret points from playing side quests and stuff, but there is also gold to respec your points, so I think respecking shouldn't be a big issue early on. So I would just go right ahead, remove all these like X nodes and anything that doesn't work anymore. And I think once getting the Brutus Lead Sprinkler, I think I'm just gonna go with Infernal Blow because it's a very nice attack skill. It is very good at clearing, and it should be super nice with Ancestral Call to move on forward. So the next point, obviously, since we're now starting to strength stack, I would go for the Utmost Might, giving us flat strength, percent strength with a mastery with 5% increased strength. And then we basically start our strength stacking journey. There's also some notes somewhere, if this is still a thing, there are clusters somewhere that gives you like fire penetration, increased fire damage with attack skills, and the fire mastery. So this is definitely something I would pick up as soon as I have the Brutus Lead Sprinkler, just because we're getting a lot of flat fire damage based on our strength. And this is like one quality of life thing that people most likely forget. If you play anything that is like Bone Shatter or any other melee skill, you're always based on the weapon. Like in the best case scenario, every 3 levels, 4 levels, 5 levels, you have to craft a new weapon with a vendor recipe or find one or anything like that. As a strength stacker, we're gonna get flat damage from our items just based off strength. In the start, it's going to be like the Brutus Lead Sprinkler. Later on, it's going to be Replica, Alberon's Warpath. That means from that point on, I just can use my weapon as a stat stick. And there is multiple weapons that scale with strength, and so I don't have to worry about recrafting my weapon over and over. But basically, you're then going to branch out to just take any life nodes or maybe endurance charge nodes, some extra life here. Branch out for, as I said, like these like damage things for fire damage, maybe even some mace notes over here, maybe a good mace mastery whatsoever. This is like kind of a question mark, but this is like early campaign stuff. Now we talk about, we finished the campaign, we're now level 69 and we are starting to do our first maps. We probably gathered like 10-15 chaos at this point. What is the next point? And I would assume that Crown of Ice is going to be your next purchase because of the increases and reductions to spell damage also apply to attacks at 150% of the value. This is the one thing where strength stacking is very good at, and this is getting tons of spell damage. And now you might think, what do you need spell damage for an attack-based build? And the reason for that is basically Crown of Ice and another keystone here, which is the Iron Will keystone. So strength damage bonus applies to spell damage as well. That means if you get strength, just core strength, I think it's just like 1% extra melee damage per 5 strength or something, right? But with Iron Will, you get the strength bonus to apply on spell damage as well. So let's say instead of just getting 100% increased melee damage coming from your strength, you also get 100% spell damage now. So what do we do with that? With the Crown of Ice, this spell damage will then be converted into attack damage. And this is the big difference here. Melee damage, spell damage, attack damage. So now with attack damage, I can also use projectile skills or anything like KB or anything, whatever, there is like an attack can be used with that before it's only melee attacks, right? So this would also work for, yeah, other sources of just attacks, right? But this is the big point. Next, once we have like allocated our Iron Will keystone and stuff like that, the next purchase that I would do is the Iron Fortress. So what Iron Fortress does is your strength damage bonus instead grants 3% increased melee physical damage per 10 strength. I think the old one was 1% per 5 and this one is 3% per 10. So making it like a bit better basically. But this also is going to be applying, this mod also applies to Iron Grip and Iron Will support basically, right? So this is very, very nice. And then we also get a bunch of flat strength and as well as chance to block attack damage per 50 strength, giving us some nice layers of defense because we can easily get block capped on a strength stacking character. And I think once you have this kind of setup, and this is like also a neat thing, once you have the Crown of Ice, this is basically your melee enabling thing for spell damage, basically, because later on you're gonna have other options. But once you acquire the Crown of Ice, then you can basically take something like the Duedris Tenur, which is like some super low level gloves, and you have 100% increased spell damage, but thanks to the Crown of Ice, it's going to be 150% increased attack damage coming from your gloves. The reduced cast speed doesn't bother you at all because you're an attack-based build. What do you care about cast speed? Maybe you can cast your portal gem slower or anything. Who cares about that? Good. I think once I have like this kind of like setup where I have strength stacking, I get increased damage from my Crown of Ice, the increased damage and the flat damage from the weapon. This should be a very solid starting point to farm up until like T16 maps. And the point is, I think now is the time to actually go and farm up currency for the Replica Alberon's Warpath. As I said, they could cost 15 divines, 20 divines, I don't know. It's gonna maybe take a day or two to farm those up, but once you have these items, you're gonna elevate your strength stacker. Now you're actually becoming a strength stacker, but keep in mind, these boots cannot deal non-chaos damage. It means every other source of damage that is not chaos is not gonna work. Therefore, you cannot use Replica Alberons with a Brutus Lead Sprinkler unless you have an original Sin Ring, but this is a complete different budget option for very, very late in the game. We're not going to talk about that. But basically, once you have Replica Alberons, you stop using the Brutus Lead Sprinkler, but which is fine, because in the first place, the Brutus Lead Sprinkler gave us the flat fire damage. Now we're changing that to Replica Alberon's Warpath, and we can use a stat stick weapon instead. I think this would be the one point where I would go start wanding, because if we take a look at the patch notes, Kinetic Blast, this is the one that I'm interested in, Kinetic Blast. So this skill now has a baked-in Crown of Ice / Old Battle Mage's Cry. Increase in reductions to spell damage also applies to tech damage from this skill at 200% value, okay? So this is even stronger than the Crown of Ice while opening up my helm slot. So this is going to be very, very nice. So I guess once the Replica Alberons are achieved, I'm going to start wanding around. There is the potential to actually go wanding from level 28 with, for example, the what is it? The gloves that I said before, because this would now give you 200% increased attack damage for your Kinetic Blast. The problem is you don't really get flat damage from your gear, because you cannot wear a freaking scepter while wanding. You need a wand basically, right? But it also means you need to recraft your weapon, the same process as with a regular melee build, to have somewhat damage. I think this is too risky. I'd rather just try to get a Brutus Lead Sprinkler into a Crown of Ice, into an Iron Fortress, and then just have like a stable character to farm currency, and then gonna purchase the Replica Alberons and then start wanding. Maybe it feels good, maybe it feels bad. There is always the option to just re-equip my Crown of Ice and go further with the Replica Alberons as a melee character if I really like the playstyle, if the damage is insane and whatnot. I plan to do a wander, but who knows. So, once you have like your Replica Alberons, what would be the next thing what you would do with your weapon? So, there are several ways. If you could actually just play like some kind of caster, because the Dune Kiriarni is also an item that gives you a lot of strength, cast speed, and increased damage per 8 strength when in main hand. This is like a global damage. This could be used for casting things, but honestly, I want to play an attack-based build, so a Replica Frost Breath is pretty nice as well, which says attacks with this weapon deal double damage to chilled enemies. So the next question would be, how do you chill enemies if you can only do chaos damage based on your Replica Alberon's Warpath, but the Replica Frost Breath have this very nice line, your chaos damage can chill. So this is where we get our chills from. So basically equipping this weapon gives you a shit ton of, damage because of the double damage, since we get all the flat damage from our boots. And keep in mind, this is a maze, same as the Brutus Lead Sprinkler, so any form of like shockwave support does also work, and this is probably what I'll try to do early on. Maybe it's Static Strike Shockwave, maybe Cyclone Shockwave, maybe I stick with Infernal Blow. There is just many options that you could go at it, right? Another one would be the Paradoxica, which could technically be your second best endgame weapon for a single target, but this is a Val Rapier, it's a one-handed sword, so I guess a good Paradoxica could be your single target option, while the Frost Breath, the Mace, could be a good valid mapping options because of a potential shockwave support. And obviously the Omega Giga best in slot would be a synthesized weapon with a fire damage mod per strength, but therefore you need original sin. This is just to think about, right? But yeah, this is basically my plan of going at it, and based on the skill tree, as I said, there is just some rough guidelines. It's just I'm gonna develop the build as I'm going. I have no idea if this is gonna have good damage, bad damage, how the survivability looks like. If it's even necessary to go Jugg, maybe we're gonna branch out for Chieftain to get the War Cries have infinite power. I think with the gold changes, there should be no big issues of getting those respecs in. And I'm just really looking forward to this project because I have no experience with a strength stacker as a league starter. I have no idea if it's going to be good, bad, ugly, or whatever. But if you want to hop in, feel free to do so. Leave a follow, a like if you want to check out my daily updates to the build. Every day another PUB, the way I make currency, the way I spend the currency, things that I figure out as we go with the strength stacker, the big purchases, my farming strategies, and so on and so forth. Every single day there's going to be another video with an update for you to enjoy. And yeah, we're gonna see how this project is going to turn out. I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.